All right, well, yeah, I just hit record. Now we can talk about whatever we want to talk about, and
Yay, what do you want to talk about, dude? Let's get into
and
some weird
and
shit.
and fuck it. All right, simulation theory. Let's go right for the throat.
We can, dude. We could talk about that if you want to. I will talk about fucking anything, dude. I'm interested in everything. I have something to say about everything.
Right? Yeah, I think this is ultimately why we get along. Cause I'm pretty much the same way. Yeah, I mean, I
No.
I want I have to talk to my buddy Kurt about Chirp, which is one of the most fascinating things I've ever seen. We've been talking off air back and forth about what kinds of things we might be able to do with SHipple, what kinds of ideas are floating around with Chirp and how to do that. But let's maybe start here. Where's Dmail at?
So it's interesting because Dmail actually sent we sent 32,000 messages in the last week on Telos, which is the most that have ever been sent
Yeah.
on that. And so what we did was we kind of run these promotions. So we worked with a company on Telos called Zepta. And so we had built this library that allows you to automate messages on the blockchain. So like you have a transaction with a token on the blockchain, you can see it. It's joined up to a message, and we sent out to 32,000 active users on the Telos blockchain to let them know about what Zepta is doing. And we plan to do that for millions of messages on Telos, at least because Telos has the cheapest resources
Yeah.
for now, and we can actually do that at scale. It's relatively cheap compared to mainnet. And then also, like, there's been a lot of updates. Like, Dmail is now fully live and socket based, completely changed the architecture. So, like, if a message that you get from somebody pops in, you'll see it immediately without having to refresh. Like when you're in an email and you need to refresh,
Right.
it feels a little bit more live. And we've also, so now we're on mainnet, we're on Telos, and we've also have in a test version on Lynxchain. And the Lynxchain version has like the avatars and all that stuff. So that's where that one's at.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
Um, so with Chirp, I mean, like I guess I'll start. I mean, like Chirp to me. I mean, like just getting on Twitter in the last little while for the Yang campaign. I'm getting used to that kind of feel. And obviously, Chirp sort of started that way, but I think it's quickly going to evolve into some more interesting ways. Um, I'm excited about the idea. I was actually talking to some Yang Gang people, and they were like, "Man, wouldn't it be really, really cool if we like actually got paid for all the stuff that we're doing on Twitter?" Like, funny you should say that. Right? Like the whole idea that there's a disconnect between, throwing all of this stuff onto a platform, and not basically getting anything in return.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I'm excited to have the Yang Gang guys because, like, when I look at the Yang Gang, I feel like they're all like dudes that I would love to hang out with and chill with. And like, there's probably no other political group. Like, I can't imagine hanging out with Bernie Bros or Hillary's sisters or whatever the fuck they are. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
I don't even know what they would like. I don't even know. Like, do people actually like? I always just imagine that like Hillary's group is not real. I mean, that's probably kind of fucked up to say. And I know we don't really probably want to go down like the super political rabbit hole, but like the Yang Gang guys, I feel like are kind of like my people, and so that's why I'm excited that they use Chirp.
yeah,
And yeah, I mean, like that's part of the concept is that you're doing all this legwork and you're kind of like running around, and it goes into this deeper conversation about behaviorism, where like algorithms are controlling human behavior, and it's a very interesting topic for me. It's something I study a lot, and so we're out there saying, yeah, like here's my politician, like I love this guy, he's my guy, when and you're doing all this stuff and you're doing all this work, but you're not getting fucking paid for it at all, and you're doing work for this person. It's kind of a kind of work, right? And so
yeah.
it kind of feeds into this narrative of Chirp, which is it would be great if everything you do online is like has some monetary value of associated with it, but also you can support and use microtransactions, which might be like, why not send 5 cents for every like that you do, or 1 cent for every like you do, and maybe at scale that person will then be making money because their voice is valuable and other people can honor it without going broke, Or with Twitter, all you really get is fame, which has a great value, by the way. Like fame is awesome. It has monetary value. But like, what if I could make $50 extra a month to fuck with some cryptocurrencies by sending out posts, right?
Right.
So that's kind of the concept, and it ties into Yang's narrative. I feel like
it does,
where there's this big UBI thing, and they're very forward thinking when it comes to finance. And every time I've heard UBI on mass scale, the thing I think of is like, we're kind of already trying to do it with cryptocurrency. It's just not being applied to a mass. And so I feel like this vibe of political UBI, Yang Gang, and cryptocurrency micropayments has a lot of synergy. So I like that. And that's why it makes sense to me.
Yeah, it really does. So Scott Sands, we've had him on the Moving Forward podcast a couple times. He's like the big UBI guy, was even before Yang. And, you know, he talks about having UBI himself. Like, he's got his own basic income. And it's because he crowdsourced it, right? And it's a really, really interesting concept because he basically crowdsourced on Patreon to become a lobbyist for UBI, because obviously, you know, nobody was going to pay him for it. But he figured out how to you know, make that happen himself. And
that's pretty cool.
It really is. Yeah, it was well done. And now, I mean, he's you know, doing all sorts of shit. He's actually just signed out, I think it was yesterday. There is a guy running in the Democratic primary to oppose Mitch McConnell, and just brought him on as senior policy advisor. Has suddenly decided to back UBI. And it's going to be another focal point for all of the Yang Gang, which, you know, pouring the entire Yang Gang into one Senate race is a pretty you know, interesting thing. And if we accidentally take out Mitch McConnell, oh no. But
yeah, no.
You know, he talks a lot about how you know, that kind of attention gets to fuel his income, and it frees him up for all this, you know, other stuff. So how do we get? Because like, it's one, because I've got a few people from Yang Gang on there, right? But if we got 1,000 people from Yang Gang on there, like, now it's just us, right? Like, what I was starting to think about today, and with what TikTok kind of showed me, how they're, you know, sort of creating their sort of sticky thing to have people come back, other than the ridiculous reach potential, is that, you know, the second that you make a video on there, it automatically downloads. It's got the TikTok brand on it or whatever, and you just have that content. You can throw it up other places, actually post instantaneously to Instagram if you want as well. But like, I keep thinking about, how do I make Chirp I start here and it goes everywhere else, so that there's like a track back. If you really want to follow literally everything I'm doing, then it's there. That way, if we have 1,000 people from the Yang Gang operating from Chirp, it's still operating on Twitter, where it's getting the word out, on Instagram or wherever.
Yeah, so we have had some discussions that are really related to that. One is that we've gotten a lot of requests for, and so we came up, actually, like, this is kind of a crowdsourced idea. Like, Marshall was pushing for it, Chris on our team was pushing for it. And then Katie from Telos came in, which was like, she kind of added like some icing on the top, because she was like, what if I posted to Chirp, but I get incentivized if I post there first and it auto posts to Twitter.
Yeah.
So instead of going to Twitter and having it like auto post to Chirp, why not incentivize them to make that the source where you start your content, and then it can kind of feed out from there. And I think that that's a good idea. And probably Twitter is the easiest one, because like, I don't know how we'd be able to really help people use TikTok, because we're so like, I don't even know if TikTok has the APIs, and I would need to look into it.
TikTok was just the example. Yeah, TikTok was just the example. That's what. That's why I thought about the screenshot thing, right? Because it basically just it gives you a piece of Chirpian branded content, so that no matter where it goes, right? Like, whether, like, doesn't matter where my TikTok thing goes, because I'll have them on YouTube, I'll have them on Facebook, I have them all over the place. It says TikTok on there, so it's automatically like a track back. But that's where I was thinking about the snapshot thing, because everyone does that on Twitter, right? Like, Facebook is just awash in little, you know, square screenshots of Twitter posts. And I don't know how, you know, hard.
Is that what your feed looks like? My feed doesn't look like that for some reason. Like, the way that I use Facebook, actually, I kind of play with the algorithms, because I know if I create unique, like, one thing that happened, I don't know how many years back it happened, where these platforms realized if they kind of force you. This goes back to behaviorism and algorithms controlling behavior. It's a fucking deep topic that I love, by the way.
Yeah.
But it's Facebook. It kind of punishes you if you try to bring content from other platforms on and post it there. It won't, like, if I just bring a link to a tweet and I post it on Facebook, like, I am almost 100% sure that Facebook will not show that shit to your friends.
Right.
It just won't do it.
That's why you don't use a link. Use a picture. Right?
Yeah.
Like I never post I never post a tweet link. I only ever take a screenshot on my phone of my tweet as a picture, and then I'll post that over and I get reactions from that all day.
Yeah, and so my
Same
view
reverse.
on it, like, I'm pretty extreme. Like, now that I think about it, like, I'm kind of extreme with some of these softwares, and maybe I don't really talk about it a lot, but like when I use Facebook, I won't really cross post that much, only because I kind of know the name of the game of the algorithms, and I like to keep things simple.
Yeah.
And what I'll do is just be like, I know that if I do a VR video and stream it to Facebook, that's unique content and it uses Oculus, and I know that the algorithm is really gonna love that. So I'll do things that algorithms love. So I'm like this total puppet of the algorithms as well. But then, because I'm a programmer and I'm technical, it's like I can kind of deductively figure out how they work. And then I'm like, I feel like I'm a little ahead of the game sometimes, because I know, like, how should this algorithm work? Well, if I double up on custom video, streaming, Facebook, Oculus, it's like I'm fucking stacking all these things that look good to the algo, and then that's gonna do much better, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm definitely all for that. I wonder if we should like stream. I wonder if we could stream interviews from Oculus.
Yeah, we can actually. So there's VR chat, and we could do that. Do you have a VR rig? Because we could totally do it.
I have the Oculus, and we're gonna have to try that.
Say what? Yeah. All right, yeah, let's do it. Because here's the thing, like, I've actually been thinking because I have a Quest. I just got a Quest last week, and it's my first. It's probably like, I've used VR in the past, but only like maybe a friend's rig, or I went to a convention and maybe played with it a little bit. But this is the first time I've ever had my own VR device, and it's really eye-opening to me. Like, I thought it would make me dizzy. It doesn't. It feels natural.
It does.
I thought that, like, maybe it would feel kind of artificial, and that I might not really feel the depth of the world, and that I might be disappointed by that. That's not true. I feel that fucking world. And what's funny is that I talk a lot of shit about, like, what I think VR could do, but I'm not like the most heavy user, and now I'm becoming one, actually.
Yeah.
So now I can back up all the bullshit that I say about how I believe that VR will disrupt real estate. I actually believe that's true even more now that I have a rig. You know, like, you could be in a little box and you pop on that VR, and then your world is open and massive, and you feel like you have that space, even though it's not real, right?
Yeah, the second we got ours, even in that little the little cutesy construct that it has, where it, like, you know, the little the little robots in there, and you're like in a little like weird space Winnebago or whatever the hell it is. Even just having my mom in there was completely and totally nuts. But like what's the one Robo Recall is still my favorite game.
What's it called? Robo Recall?
Robo Recall. I think it comes with the Oculus. You should be able to download it. But like it feels as real as anything, and it's fast and crazy and teleporting all over the place. And you know, it's a great big huge shoot 'em up, and you completely forget that it's VR. Like, you're just in it. Like, I
love that. I'm gonna get that for sure, because I played Hot VR, and I was like, this is, or I think it's called Super Hot.
Yeah, that's good.
And it's like the dummy version. It's supposedly like a real bare bones game compared to the other ones.
Robo Recall, I think, is like 5 to 10 times better than that.
Wow. All right. I will get it. I have like 3 games now, so I don't remember how we got on this topic. Oh yeah, we want to do some live streams. We should do collaborative live streaming on VR next time. I'm fucking so down for it. You're the only person that I know. I've been thinking, like, I need to get more people in there. And so it's funny, because right when I got my Oculus Quest, do you know who Robert Scoble is? He's kind of like, So he's
It's like a big deal.
like, yeah, he's a pretty big deal. And so when I got it, I messaged him because he's probably one of the like maybe the most like one of the most famous like tech people I actually know and have in my DMs. And I hit him up and he's like, I'm too busy, I can't do it. Right. And
Right.
so I'm like, who am I gonna get to go into these virtual worlds with me, right?
Game on.
Um
I mean, I'm no
yeah.
Robert Scoble, but I am highly entertaining, and I also have an Oculus. So
No, it's better because like Robert is too like he's like I don't know. He doesn't want to play around with me in VR, and hopefully you do. So that's
yeah,
better.
no, 100%.
He'll
So
be
it's
like, bro, it's been 10 minutes. I gotta go or
yeah,
something.
yeah. No, I think it'll be a really, really good, good experiment. I do want to go back to the chirp thing though, like having it as a home base. What you're saying as far as like incentivizing it, that sounds great. That allows because I'm gonna do it anyway, right? Like the second it becomes plausible to make that part of my promotion chain, right? So like I gotta put a post out for a podcast, or I mean really what I really want to train myself to do, like I'm obviously on Twitter and calling for content. There's a lot of sharing and stuff, right? But I want to be able to take that, rip it off Twitter and put it back on Chirp, and then have that as a magnet to get more and more of the Yang Gang over there to start getting.
Yeah, I mean, I'll keep it in mind and try to think of the best way to do it. I think that a good start to it would be to allow your content to cross post to Twitter and incentivize people who will post original content to Chirp. So Chirp will have its own Puppet Master algorithm where if you post to us original content and use the other networks as secondary, then you would make more, or maybe we'd even pay to do it, because we are going to introduce more this concept of coins, and earning, and that those have value in our system for you to gain more visibility. Because when you bind it to like a liquid token like Lynx or whatever, it becomes like we want to pay people more. We want them to have more power. We want to give them more crypto. But like the thing that we can exchange, because we don't have an unlimited amount of money, is that we can exchange power within our platform, because we have that as the application developer, and we can give that. Like, for example, you could pin more things, or maybe it allows you to tip more people and then become more popular or follow more topics or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And so that's one thing that we want to do. And I think that we can use that same currency to be like, hey, look, if you post with us first, we'll pay you more. And then if you connect your Twitter, we'll pay you more, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
no,
so that's kind of like I think a good way to start it, anyways.
Yeah, I'm in. Sign me up. I mean, I was in already, but whatever.
Yeah, I know you're active for sure.
Yep. So announcements? No announcements? Hints?
Well, like. So I'm under NDA on some shit. Like that's like there are some things that will be released today. And so like I can either say kind of what they are and then you can hold this video, or we can just not say it and let it go out. Cause like
if it's coming out today, I mean, yeah, no, I would be comfortable holding it, because I mean, when's the next chance we're gonna get time to talk?
Yeah, maybe we can just do a follow-up one, just because like
then we don't have to worry about it.
I like to respect that kind of stuff, and even though we could do something tricky like release it later, but yeah, there are a lot of big announcements coming up, and
that's awesome.
I think that like they're gonna benefit Chirp a lot. There's a lot of moves that are happening kind of behind the scenes, and I think that Lynxchain is going to be a big fucking chain in the future, like bigger than the other ones that are EOS.io chains. I think that, it's not going to be as big as mainnet tomorrow, but a lot of people hate me for saying that I think that it's possible that other EOS.io chains could be bigger than mainnet, which I do believe they could. It's
why
possible,
not, right?
All
it takes is more active users.
Yeah, and I'm enthusiastic about it, and I think that some things that are coming up and the way the chain is being run, it's going to be 10x bigger than it is right now, for sure. Like that, I count on it, and because of that, and because we're the social network that's on that chain and working with their tokens and as the liquidity increases, like Chirp should be a really nice social network that pays people and that is part of this kind of UBI future, or this micro transaction economy that we kind of believe in, all in our own unique ways. That's
Yep.
what I really believe.
Yeah, me too. That's why Chirp has been so sticky to me. It just like the philosophy behind it really, I could just feel the resonance to it, which is why I keep like trying to tell everyone that I could possibly can. Like that, it's not a complete picture in my head by any means. Obviously, it's evolving really really quickly. And I mean, for anybody who's never heard of Chirp before, like if you haven't been on it yet, it's evolving basically every day. Because every time we're like, hey, could we get this? Kurt just builds it because he's awesome. Not to blow sunshine up your ass while we're actually talking on an interview, but fuck it, I will.
Yeah, no, I get it, and I do appreciate it, man. Like I feel like me and you are fans of each other, which is really cool. I like that vibe.
Yeah.
And I, but I don't take all the credit though, by the way. Like, I have a team of guys that I work with, and they kind of just like, they're not as social as I am. And I used to be a very introverted engineer in the past, but I just feel like it was sort of like my team needed somebody who can go out there and let people know what the vision of the products are, and interface with people, and go out and find the right people that we need, and the right relationships. And so I kind of just decided that I would be the person to do it because I wanted to change. And so the last few years, I've gone from a person who was very uninterested in speaking to very many people and not being very social to being very social, like kind of morphing into more of an extroverted person.
Yeah.
But anyways, like just honoring my team, like I have Chris and Valnor, and I have Adam, and a lot of these guys that like they're helping me execute the vision of this, and they're working very hard, like daily.
No, that's good to know. I didn't know you had a team with you. So that's brilliant.
Yeah. So I think that sometimes like, and I don't really, it's a hard thing to balance. Like I've been on the side where I was the engineer in the background, like building all the shit, and then somebody else is out there like, hey, like I'm taking all the credit for it, and it's like sometimes you feel resentful of it in a weird way. If you're an engineer,
that would totally make sense. Yeah, no, I'm glad we know those guys are working away. To those guys, you guys are killing it, like crushing the shit out of it. And I'll blow sunshine up your ass too. This got weird. Now. This is strange now.
Like they might not even watch this stuff. Like they're just some coders, they're really happy to code and kind of do their own thing. But like I do love the idea of people honoring the work that happens. And like if you look at a lot of what's happening, like because I know that you're really into politics, like there's something happening in the country where like the people that are doing a lot of hard work, like I feel like we're trying to like protect them and make sure that they have a future and that they're not enslaved. And like I think there's a lot of talk about like losing jobs and all of these things. And I think that when you are kind of operating in the shadows and you're in the background and you're not getting credit and you're not social and you don't have those relationships, you're actually limiting your opportunities in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And so I feel like me as a person who's generally leading a product and generally talking to people, I want to make sure that those guys, if they want to do that, that they can, and that I'm not going to try to keep them in the background. Whereas a lot of companies don't want, like Uber doesn't want their executives probably on Twitter talking about like shit that went down at their work today. You know what I mean? So it's this kind of like balance of like, hey, like stay in your place, bro, and don't be going out there leaking all this information about what we're doing.
Right.
But yet don't just be a slave like in the slave quarters that's doing all the work and doesn't know anybody. So if I fire your ass, you're not going to have a job. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, it's kind of that's like what's happening in a lot of these situations. And so I'm trying to be like, going from that side, trying to understand it from like the more public side of it,
Yeah, no, that's great, man. That's good. And especially like having that team dynamic is so critical too. Just because I mean, you want to make sure that well, and you know coders, you know how they're gonna react as much as anything. I feel like that's just a good approach, right? Like you're able to be the face, but you're not caging them to the point where they actually can't get out or whatever.
Yeah, and sometimes, frankly, like you don't want engineers talking to people. Like you can see in a lot of cases, like there's engineers that are interfacing with people about like feature requests,
Yeah.
and they just don't understand how to talk to people at all. And it's like, it's just like shut up and just keep coding, basically. Like go back to your fucking desk and shut up, basically.
I feel like this is basically, if you haven't seen Silicon Valley, you've gotten most of the ethos of that TV show by listening to the last 10 minutes. Have you seen? Yeah, you've seen Silicon Valley, right?
Yeah, I have, and I've been watching Mythic Quest too. Have you seen that?
No.
You got to check it out. It's on Apple Plus, but it's kind of like the gaming version of Silicon Valley. It's about a company that's building a game, and it's amazing. Like it's a comedy as well, and it's on Apple Plus. It's really great. I think
I'll get it for sure.
Yeah, it's good. But I think that kind of leads to this other thing that I wanted to talk about with you, which is, like it would be great to have. Like talking about like releases and SHipple and what you and I have learned building these meme tokens and all the work that we've done that probably, isn't really being appreciated by people as much as we wish that it was. I mean, it's been a lot of fun, but it's not like we're getting rich doing that stuff. But I would like to see communities come into Chirp, and I would like to just give these people who are running communities tokens and give them money to run these communities. So one is just like give them play money to where they can go out and advocate for their own communities and topics they're interested and be a leader of this group, right?
Yeah.
And then they take a share of whatever's earned there by the activity without pissing off their communities, obviously, and in a transparent way. And maybe even they can decide what they want to do with the money that comes in. Maybe they split it up with their community. They can do whatever they want, but I want to provide that kind of incentive for people to like run their own communities and give them some community tools. Kind of like Reddit. Like I'm thinking like Reddit, but like imagine if the Reddit that you ran like made money. You know what I mean? Like you made money from running that Reddit channel, because like that's what you're doing. You're essentially, it's like if you imagine the Wall Street Journal or something, right? You have this journalist who's creating content and then like bringing value to your business, which is a publisher, and they're getting paid, right? Yeah. Like what's the difference between I'm a nerd about fucking Apex Legends, right? Because I play Apex Legends, the game. Yeah. And if I'm running r/Apex Legends and I'm spending my time there doing the stuff, like, and people are coming in and posting, and then now Reddit's able to sell part of their business, like I'm basically an unpaid employee of Reddit without even knowing it. You know what I mean? And so I'm trying to figure out how we can have a balance, because if somebody said, look, Chirp isn't going to be a massive, Facebook or Reddit, but it could be income for hundreds of people, like I would take that. I would say yes to that right now, even if it meant I was kind of cut out of the equation or I didn't get any money from it, because to me, I take a lot of joy from people using the shit that I build because I spent my time on it, right?
Right.
And so that's why I'm starting to think like it's kind of a buzzword, but it's sort of democratizing how these channels are monetized and trying to share with the people a piece of it. And I know that Voice is kind of trying to do that, and that there's a lot of crossover there. And actually, to be honest, like part of the reason why I built Chirp was because I saw Voice was coming out for from Block One, and I was like, this is fun. I want to build it. Like I want to build something. I want to build my own version of this. Like, right. and it's like it's sort of like music. Like if you really like a genre, like I really love singing medieval music, and there was a point in time where I was like, well, it would be weird for me to like put out medieval music because people did that hundreds of years ago and it's kind of overplayed, or like I'm copying or whatever. But like in music, it's totally okay to release something in the same genre, even if it kind of feels like something else. It's inspiring. And like I kind of look at app development like it's a art, it's a kind of music, it's art. Like there's not only one impressionist, you know, there's hundreds of them, right?
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean it's the I mean it's an art for you guys, right? Like
it is. It's like art more, and it's taken me a little while to kind of recognize that that's what it does, because actually I come from an art background more. My background is in the arts, and so it always felt very natural for me to go into programming and engineering, but I still had a kind of artist mindset. Like I'm not always sitting here thinking about, you know, the business side and how, like I'm thinking about this would be fun or this would be interesting, right? This would entertain people. This is what somebody needs. This is creative. That's kind of how it feels to me.
Yeah.
And then I have to go and answer questions like, well, your marketing strategy sucks and fucking, you know, whatever it is. And I got in an argument. The only one person I booted out of our group was because one night I was like kind of fucking tired, and I was just like, man, you sound like the guy from fucking The Office, bro. Like, where are the TPS reports? And I kind of went off on this guy, telling him that he's boring, you know, and it was really rude. I was like totally out of line. Yeah. But I realized why I responded that way is because, like, imagine you're an artist and somebody comes up and is critiquing your art, telling you that your marketing sucks. You know what I mean? It's like, critique my art. Like, don't tell me that I'm not fucking, you know, marketing this to the right demographic. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I know exactly what you mean. From a guitar player's perspective.
Yeah.
And I mean, it seems to me too that I mean, Chirp will fly on merit, not on some, you know. Now, granted, like, you know, if somebody throws TikTok money at you to like, here's the fucking $1 billion, you know, you could just like hire a marketing firm, like, you guys go nuts. We're gonna keep building it and having fun.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, people have offered to invest in Chirp already, and like it's cool, but if I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do with it and I'm still trying to work things out, like, and I want it to more like solidify as to what it really is. Like sometimes, because I've had 2 funded companies in the past and I've worked for other funded businesses like before they were funded. And it kind of changes the dynamic in a way to where all of a sudden, like, you have this pressure, and maybe people are getting better about it today, even VCs, but it's like, all of a sudden you have this weird pressure to like do what this other party wants. And also like monetization starts to like creep up on you. And I think especially with social products, it's kind of not good to think about that, because you want to get people to enjoy the product, and thinking too much about how to monetize it just kind of like ruins it in a way, you know? So
yeah, I think from a very limited sort of novice perspective, I kind of feel like I can almost see that in some of the other nascent projects that are out there. And that's the thing too with Chirp, like the philosophy behind it. We want to democratize. I love the fact that you said balance, right? Because it's not like, you know, you're going to come on here and you're going to make like literally everything that comes through on that. No, like the platform's going to make some, you're going to make some, or whatever. Like Facebook is like an $18 trillion company, whatever the fuck it is. You know, instead of just taking all the money for their shareholders, what would have happened if they took 25% of that, 30% of that, and funneled that back into the actual humans, right? So like just operating from that perspective philosophically is so freaking interesting, but that could take 10, 15 different forms before we found the one that was like perfect and sticky and just like, you know, like it's gonna end up being a form where there's like hundreds of new people, thousands of new people showing up every day, and we're like, whoa, I guess that worked.
Yeah, and it's experimental. That's the reality. We're experimenting. This is a new thing. Like, people feel that it's familiar because, but it's not, because microtransactions haven't really existed before.
Yeah,
they really haven't. Like, you've never been able to pay a fraction of a penny with traditional money. I mean, even a dollar is denoted in, it's only divisible by 100 pieces, and those are pennies. And the lowest form of a payment you can make is a penny, and a penny might be worthless to you, but you can't really like something with a penny on a social media site. And crypto with microtransactions makes all this weird shit possible. Like, if you're using the site, like maybe we pay you a microtransaction for every second, like sites like Emanate, if you listen to 30 seconds of the song, that crypto gets mined out to the author of that song.
Yeah,
it's
Emanate's
amazing.
really cool.
These kind of things weren't possible before, and it's really groundbreaking, actually. And so people are like, well, what's the difference between Twitter? It's like, shut the fuck up, basically. If you just look at it for a second, just being able to like 100 posts and every single one of those people got a payment from you, and it was completely decentralized. You sent 100 people money in like 20 minutes, and they all earned money from something they posted. It's like, that's never happened before. So shut up and just don't say that again.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it is really messed up when people show up there and just totally miss the point. But that, like, right. I guess that's also because you've made it feel like a social media experience that we're used to. Which I think is also really important, right? Which is the whole idea, right? But like, yeah, but that, but you're right. I mean, that's the kind of thing that's going on there. That's why I'm so fascinated by it. Like that. I don't know where it's going to go, but I know that this is an important step that hasn't ever happened before.
Yeah. And I think so. And it's not like I'm claiming like I'm the guy who's going to make it all happen. Like, I'm not even the first person to try to do it. There's a lot of people trying to do it. Yeah. It's just, I think that there's a lot of opportunity for many people to do it and to do it well and to help people earn. And, there's a lot of people who have been for the last 20 years building up these sites without a dollar to their name to show for it. And I think that paradigm might shift a little bit.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm looking at your account right now, actually, to like see, because I think I'm at 2-1 right now, give or take. Like on your earnings? Mm-hmm. Well, you post like crazy, dude. It's hard. I think it's going to be harder for people who post a ton. It's sort of like that on Twitter though too. It's like if you post 100 things in a day, like maybe one of those tweets will take off, but most of them will probably sit without likes, But I think like this is where I think the follow thing comes in a little bit, right? It's like my experience on Twitter, I was like posting into the wind. Nobody was paying attention to anything that I'm doing. Yep. And over the last 2 months where I've been a lot more active, again, I'm like active in a pretty rapidly active community, the whole Yang Gang thing. They're on there quite a bit. And slowly but surely, with the podcast, different things, people are actually following me and turning notifications on or whatever. So I'm like, there's probably, I want to say like probably only like 10 or 15 people that are sort of actively engaged all the time. But that's where posts go back out into the larger community, and now it's in the 500, 600, 700 likes range and that kind of thing. And I sort of feel like that would happen on Chirp as well, right? Like it depending on which direction we go with the follow thing. What's your opinion on that anyway? Like as far as the follow thing. So like at first I wasn't really into it because I've built a lot of communities in the past, like in Slack, for example. Like Slack is kind of a great product that I borrow from a lot, but they have the concept of channels, and which are essentially groups of people on topics, and then you don't really have the concept of following, but yet you have these super active Slack channels. And but now I'm more sold on it, and where the eye-opening thing for me was when I went to Twitch, because I'm a user on Twitch as well. And I went in there and I realized, like, if you don't really build up a following on Twitch, like someone might miss your content. Right. And you also have this feeling of being very alone when you go into a new situation. And I've experienced this even in real life when I moved to a new country. And it's like, wow, I don't know anybody. And then the first person I meet ends up being my best friend because, like, you just rely on that person. And then like still to this day, I'm friends with the first 10 people that I met in China, for example. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so there's this feeling of like you're worried that you're not going to be heard or that you're alone. And I think that following could kind of solve that. And also, I think it's kind of an innovation because like I'm part of over 100 Slack groups, for example. And so it might be interesting for someone to be following me and see like what groups I am or where I posted recently, but Slack isn't really built for that because they want to isolate people and fucking drain their wallets basically, which is a good monetization strategy. But like if you could kind of follow me and I could follow you across channels, I feel like that is kind of an innovation actually. Like you don't have that on Telegram, but imagine if you went to Telegram and there was a feed of activity where you could see the people you've interacted with the most and like stuff that was seen a lot by other people. That might be interesting, right?
Right. Well, I noticed,
so I'm going to do it.
One thing that I was doing on Twitter, because like, you know, I follow lots of people, but there's some people that I follow and like turn the notifications on or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So what if the act of following was that micropayment, you know, sort of, you know, whether it's like 0.5 or 0.1 or whatever, right? Like, so you're effectively subscribed to that person, and it like you actually monetize that engagement because there's so many people.
You think, man? Yeah, no, that's exactly the way that I want it to be. Yeah.
All right, cool, fine. Let's just fucking do it then.
Yeah, let's fucking do it. It'll be live tomorrow. No, I'm just kidding. but we will.
Your team's in the background, like motherfucker.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that'd be cool, and it'd be even cool to set, you know, variable limits, right? Like if you're like, hey, I don't know if I really want too many people following me, so it's like fucking 10 links to follow me a month. Fuck you. Or you can set it lower, you can set it higher, whatever, right? I'm probably overthinking it.
Yeah, I think that like one of the things that I enjoy, and this might just be because maybe I'm a glutton for punishment, but I think that there's an innovation here where like everything is monetized, but it's not like there's a company that's making money off of you at every turn. It's more of like, if I subscribe to you, I'm sending money to you. Like I'm honoring you with money by subscribing. I'm spending a little bit, and that makes me care more about it. Like I'm not a Christian, but there's this Bible quote that it's like this finance quote, really. I see it as not really like a religious thing, but it says, it's something like where you put your money. How does it go? It's something like, there, where you put your money, there your heart will be too, something like that.
Yeah.
And I think that it's really true. Like if you get a new cryptocurrency, if you purchased a cryptocurrency, all of a sudden you start paying attention to that thing. And it's like where you put your money, then that's where your mind is too. And I feel like it's kind of like being more thoughtful in a way if you attach a microtransaction to it.
I agree.
And so that's what I really liked. And so initially, that's why everything was a pay for thing in this thing. I wanted every little thing that you did. It's just a payment, subscribe, fucking like, you know, pin, follow this channel. Everything you do is a microtransaction. It's a payment. And it always gives somebody in the platform multiple ways to monetize. You own your own channel. You make money on all the posts. Somebody follows you. You make money. Somebody likes your shit. You make money. Somebody pins your shit. You make money. You invite your friend. You make money. It's like money. And it's not about being greedy and making money, but it's like, let's let people make money and let the platform empower them to make money doing shit that they already do to make people super fucking rich in the world. Just let's break a little bit off for the homies a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, like we interviewed this one guy that you know really just wanted to have the tech check, right? All the data that we have going out there, whatever. We just, you know, figure out how to turn it into you know, money for the people. Yeehaw, freaking amen. And of course, you know, you got to tax the companies like Facebook or whatever to make all this stuff happen. I feel like what you're doing is the end run on that. Right? Like basically, you know, instead of going after these companies where, yes, we're all there, yada, yada, instead we just take that attention and that network of human beings, that amount of attention that has been monetized. And instead you're basically just like, I'm going to take a little bit of it, but most of it we're actually just going to give back to everyone else, and it's going to become this sort of network of value. But it's also, I feel like it has the potential to be largely embedded, so you don't even notice, right? Like there's the stuff that's going on. You're producing some value, you're getting some value back, and every single thing that you do is really honoring people with something that they can go buy a coffee with, and down the road, maybe a freaking Tesla. Who knows?
Yeah, for sure. Because this whole like, I'm going to go to YouTube and then I have to go to like, and then YouTube might shut me off at any point in time. And then, I go to Patreon, which is great. I love all of these things. Don't get me wrong, but it's like Patreon could get shut off overnight and ruin a lot of people's ability to make money if Twitter rolls out their own thing that doesn't really jive very well with that. You know what I mean? Or and then you have to go to this separate thing. Like monetization is kind of like a gray market thing for a lot of these places. Like, how do I get paid to tweet right now? Well, some people will pay to tweet. They're going to audit my followers and blah, 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 right? And it's this whole third party thing. It might even be a violation of the terms. Who knows? And so I imagine where kind of a software that stuff is baked in, an economy is baked into it. More than it's this side thing that somebody had to wait 10 years for YouTube to do it. It's more of like you go there and that it is something where you're generating value and giving value to other people. And that might just be that I make whatever I make, I just give back to people. Like, and I don't care about, buying even my coffee with it. But some people might, see it as an opportunity, especially in these emerging economies where somebody getting a $5 tip is a big fucking deal. You know what I mean? Like, that's a huge thing. Like, that could literally like feed their family for that day or something,
Yeah.
And I like the idea that it's international too. Like what place can you go where it's easy to just seamlessly share value with somebody in Africa? And if I look at like the Chirp user base, if I look at it on a map, it's so diverse too. It's like literally every country has a user. Wow. Like multiple places in Africa, fucking South America, like everywhere has a user. And I love that. And I feel like before I built products, it was like you were lucky if another country would really light up. It's very American centric.
Yeah.
But now it's like the more products I build, the more international they're becoming. And I think it's because of crypto. I really think that's why.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, it's the common means of transaction that just never existed before. You had to go through some bank that was going to take 20, 50% or whatever the hell it was, which is bananas. So, yeah, I'm excited to keep introducing the Yang Gang over, but I can't stop thinking about what it's going to look like to reboot SHipple and just like hard code it. If you want information on SHipple, you're gonna have to come to Chirp because that's where it is, right? Like and I think with the channels, that's close enough to I think that's close enough even right now where we could just get started to the private Facebook groups that we could manage that.
Yeah, so I have some thoughts on SHipple, and some of them are really, really kind of candid thoughts, and some of them are just stuff that we can get going really quickly. One is that I think that you running like I think that you would be a perfect person to pilot this idea of you're running that channel and you have your own little economy within an economy.
Okay.
Because I almost don't want to wait until we roll out this like private groups thing where people can monetize their channels. Like, I think we can kind of just do it in a quick and dirty way where like you bring the SHipple community there and we like allocate some stack of tokens for the SHipple community to play with. And then we kind of just test it out and see how it goes. And then that can be a good learning grounds for merging to a private channel.
Right.
But also going a step further, I think that it would be great post some of this news that's coming out and some other stuff. I think it would be great to reboot the SHipple community and maybe take our learnings and maybe, evolve that community a little bit and really try to discover what it is that's so great about it and what we've learned and kind of like give it a rebirth.
Yeah.
And, swap tokens, because I feel like mainnet could or could not continue to have problems, and maybe migrate to a new chain, mint a token, and maybe even have one small application that is centered around what the SHipple community values are. And like, I think that would be like a phase 2. Like phase 1 would be like, let's bring SHipple people, like let's bring it back to like a community and spark that back up and get them creating content and earning tokens and fucking just firing it back up, really.
Yeah.
And then from there, parlay that into how can this be its own standalone thing, its own kind of business or whatever. That's like really what I'm thinking. And I've been thinking a lot of like, what it really comes down to is people want to earn and they want to be social and they want to create this fucking weird content that we love so much, right? Yeah. And I think that Chirp kind of does that in a way, but like I think that SHipple is really unique, and I almost feel like I don't like the name, but I love everything that's been done.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know, it sounds like nipple and it sounds like ripple.
Yeah, dude.
And there's nothing wrong with nipples, but I just feel like ripple is kind of like, I don't know. And but then it has the word ship in it, so I kind of like shipping stuff, but
Yeah, it was it started with a couple hundred people that I basically said, if cuz I was shitting on Ripple, it basically said if 200 people like this, I just figured out how to make EOS tokens. I'm going to make a token whose sole purpose is to shit on Ripple, and I'm going to call it SHipple. We're just halfway between shitcoin and Ripple, because I thought it was funny, and that as a joke was a thing, but that joke became a narrative, right? This whole idea that you can't use Ripple for anything, like at all. Basically, I know they're planning on doing some things now, but who fucking knows what they're doing now? But that was the joke. But the community around it immediately took on that, and that's when somebody made the first meme, or I think I made the first meme with the whole guy looking back or whatever. But the where that fused or where that bubbled up in a tiny little community that was like, yeah, we could just do it. And honestly, like, there's no reason why we couldn't have more people actively using this than this weird bank token that is worth, $18 trillion.
Yeah, and I think that the main thing is like, I think what we could do to plan it better, because it's kind of like Mortys too. It's like, what is the difference between 1 billion tokens and 100,000 tokens? Like, it's very complex kind of economics or math to really determine. Like, it's sort of like this weird hierarchy. Like, this guy has more than me, but like, It doesn't really have liquidity. It's really strange. It's almost like, I almost feel like in some ways, the sort of like gross financial activity that's going on in the world, we sort of replicate it when we don't have clarity on what our token economy, like zero liquidity token economies do, because then they end up being like this crony capitalism that we don't love, right? Like, and so that's one of the things that I think that we're replicating indirectly without even knowing it, is that it's like, well, Joe knows this guy and he did this favor for me. So, you know what I mean? It's kind of like, it kind of ends up replicating, which is essentially kind of like this human behavior, right? And so I'm thinking that we can learn a lot from that and like build a more stable kind of economy where like tweets earn this much and this earns that much, and anybody can tip however they want. And here's like, to me, they're games. They're economies that apply to games. And SHipple has been about promotion and shilling and generating content. That's the name of the game. And SHipple, the token, it's the points for that game. The problem is that we're all playing Monopoly, but there's no fucking rules. And so I think that what we could do is, when we build this Monopoly game, is we can learn that what are the rules of this game, and we learn it based on what's fun, right? We go and we say, what's really fun? and let's turn that into a coherent game with real economics behind it, and maybe even build one micro application that kind of, it's sort of like you're saying it's 2.0 and upgrading. And I think that that's the way we can upgrade these little communities, is like take our learnings and turn it into something more coherent. Because like, what did people ask when they joined Mortys? What do I do? What is this about? What is it for? It's like, it's almost like, here's the Monopoly like instructions for you. This is what you do.
Yeah,
you know?
and we sort of had. It almost makes me think that like the SHipple thing was an experimental phase, right? Because I was like, I didn't know. Let's like, what do you want to do with it? Like, that's literally what I did as often as not, right? And you know, my main thing was like, we've got, you know, I just made a monthly budget, because the whole thing is like, I want to make sure that this all gets out to humans. Because you know, if you know, one person is holding 1 billion tokens, those 1 billion tokens will always be worth 0, right? Like, it has to be this thing where you have the tokens spread out into a community, but it has to go out with some sense of value, right? If you just airdrop out to 100,000 people, they don't care about it. There's no story there. It doesn't mean anything. But when, you know, we had, you know, stuff going out for, hey, thanks for sharing this. Here's, you know, 10K or whatever it was, you know, that kind of thing got really, really interesting really, really quickly. And that's where I'm seeing other companies actually doing that now, right? Like the companies.
Yeah, everybody's copying all that shit that we were doing. I mean, like, it's
worked.
Cool. Like,
people got excited about it, right? So
they did.
And the tribes thing, I think would be kind of an interesting thing to do that we could budget out. Memore seems like the easiest thing, because that got the most attention by far, right? Like, just, and it's creating ridiculous content. You want to talk like the marketing guys can go fuck themselves. That shit was amazing, and we still have
like, that's what I'm saying, dude. Like, I feel like there's a business there and there's a community there.
Yep.
And I feel like the right thing to do is maybe build a token that merges Mortys and SHipple and any other tokens or people that are advocates for this kind of weird shit.
Yeah.
And bring them all together. Release a new token because see, it's really important to have low transaction costs and no resources. That's the reason why I like Lynxchain so much, because they remove that from the equation. Like, even though I would love to do it on Telos, and Telos is probably one of the most successful chains in as far as like how many people are enthusiastic about it and how open the governance is, and how I think it's more free from corruption and collusion than any other chain. And that's why, like, you know, that's my hardcore decentralized bro hat wearing, like, you know, chain. For sure. And then, you know, EOS is more of like, it's kind of like crony capitalism, you know, but I kind of love that shit too. So it's like I can enjoy all these different parts of my personality. And Lynxchain is like, let's get her done, remove all the bullshit, and like, let's just move fast, you know. And and I love that too. Like, strong leadership. Yeah, fuck you, you know. And that's what Craig Wright is doing with BSV. And even though I don't share a lot of the values this guy has, and I think his reputation is trash, but when you see him, is that it's kind of funny to watch him. I don't know if you saw those videos that I posted where he's like, oh, you want to do this on our mining network? And he's talking in front of fucking hundreds of people at CoinGeek, right? And he's like, well, then fuck you, you know? And he did. And see, the thing is, a lot of people will be like, well, he's trying to control the miners, whatever. And it's probably true. But the thing is that when you have that kind of leadership, even if it's bad, I mean, like, and this goes deeper into leadership, how countries are being run. When you have the fucking leadership, even if it's bad, it's like humans respond to that shit, man. And it works. And so that's why, and I feel like Lynxchain, it's funny because people will be like, you know, Fred is, you know, the dictator and he's like Trump, and it's like the Trump chain. It's like, okay, sure. But like, why are people picking up on that? It's because they see that it's leadership and they might not like it. But the thing is that if it removes shit for users, it's almost like Lynxchain is the testing ground for everything that sucks about these other chains. They just removed it, and that could work. And so that's the reason why I'm going to probably end up trying to court you into going over there. I
always wanted to do that until like Telos literally called me up, which was really flattering, right? Had a really, really good shot with one of the guys there. We were talking about the deflationary structure and like fixing the contract or whatever. Like they were all good for that because I've got a ridiculous idea for a deflationary thing. I want to talk to you about it too because I think we'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, they've got great stuff going on, and like they might be able to like do some funding for work proposals and all this crazy stuff. Great, right? But Lynxchain was always where I was headed, and
Yeah,
you know,
I feel like it's
not that I
really
couldn't
good
get pulled in a different direction potentially, right? Because like honestly, my biggest priority is serving the SHipple community because they poured their hearts and souls into that, and I need to produce something from that just for my soul. Like that, I have to do it because there's
they're the
something
most
amazing,
like
beautiful there.
they're solid homies on the SHipple community. Like
Legit.
they're crazy for sure, and I love that. And I think that just whenever you have people that are kind of going nuts on something, like you just kind of know that you're onto something. And I feel like what you've done is genius. And I feel like, and that's like the basis of our friendship. I feel, isn't this the how we actually met? We met through building our token communities. I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Like that's like the basis of our friendship. And I think that that's a really beautiful thing, man. The fact that we're building this weird shit and that's how we know each other. I mean, that's amazing. And, but I would say that, and I'm down to help. I think that it's ultimately up to you to decide whether you want to do Telos or Lynxchain, and that's kind of like your decision, and probably consult the community, you know.
The two biggest things for me is my gut was telling me Lynxchain for months, right? And I didn't really know Telos from Adam, and suddenly like I wanted to learn how to code so I could learn how to like change a contract. That's going to take me 18 million years. I'm just not constitutionally designed for that. So like there are some development things that I just can't do that I strongly believe will be really interesting. And they said, okay, well we might be able to do that. That'd be awesome. Actually, they said they would be able to do that, which is good. But Chirp is on Lynxchain, you're on Lynxchain, Fred's on Lynxchain, and the wallet. This is the biggest thing. The SHipple community they
use Lynx, they use the wallet.
It's all there.
Use the wallet.
It's all there, right? And like they're noobs. Like I'm so proud of the fact, and it's because of the Lynx wallet. It's the only reason why we could do it, right? Like they built something that is so bulletproof for dummies, right? Or like crypto noobs, because they're not stupid, but they're like this is all brand new to them. That I onboarded
better, bro.
I onboarded hundreds of people that had no business being anywhere near cryptocurrency, and they didn't care. That was the key insight to me. Like, hey, this is a cryptocurrency. Like, I don't really care, but this is where it gets interesting. My buddy Sue Gentry, who's an artist, she's on Chirp now too. Had never experienced cryptocurrency before. Came on SHipple, was making memes like a crazy person. She's like this little old lady, which is just brilliant, right? So she started a group of other little old ladies. We were doing SHipple fitness for a while and setting fitness goals for each other and all that kind of thing.
You guys were doing all kinds of shit. Like I want to. It was just like funny to me. Is like, man, what the fuck are they gonna think of?
Well,
next?
Here's the thing. I told everyone, and if we can figure out how to keep this experimentation capacity on what we do next, I would love that. But I basically said, if you want to start a tribe, go do it, and I'll fund it to a little bit. Well, what do you want to do? I don't care. It's up to you. Well, what if we want to have like 10 little old ladies and have like a SHipple fitness that's just for people that want it to be a little bit more private? I said, yeah. Why haven't you started it yet? Go do it. And so we, and some fell off and some did it, whatever. And my only stipulation was you need 3 memes every single week that come to Meme Wars, and I'll fund you with this, basic income for your tribe or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. And what she told me, like after everything slowed down, you couldn't transact anymore. She said, we always told each other it's not about the SHipple. That's silly. It doesn't really matter. They still shared it amongst each other for finishing like fitness goals and stuff like that. And what she said was, it was really interesting. The second we couldn't do any more transactions, we all just kind of stopped. Right? Like that.
And that's the thing, is that there's no empathy from people who are running that chain and deeply involved in that chain about that. And because I'm an advocate for dApps and users, I'm getting a lot of hate from people because like, that's what I signed up for, dude. I signed up for when I built my BPs and stuff. Like we weren't fucking around when we said that we're going to advocate for dApps and users. And that's exactly what we're doing. I'm out there making people fucking hate me and block me because I'm like, bro, this isn't good for dApps. Like people are leaving. It's not good. I don't give a fuck how you feel about this is working exactly the way it's supposed. Like, it doesn't matter if you have people leaving because they're bummed. That's what fucking matters, you know?
Yeah, if it's unusable, if you have a machine that is unusable by humans, it's garbage. Right? Like, what's the point? Am I like the second that only whales could use EOS, what's it good for? What are you actually going to do with it?
Yeah, and like it's kind of sad because
it is
and I feel like the leadership over there is they're trying. It's almost like whatever EOS does, that's the best fucking thing. Like tomorrow, it fucking makes your CPU melt down, and it fucking literally melts like a fucking ice cube in the sun. All of a sudden, that's the fucking next coolest thing.
That's what it was designed for.
It's a fucking ice cream. Just eat it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what. Like I swear, dude. It's like all and what I really tried to give myself a reality check about this. And here's how I really try to. This is how I really try to put it into perspective. Okay, and just tell me if this is useful for you or not. Is that what the fuck did they sell when they were first selling EOS as like this? It's a crypto virtual machine, right? And like, what is it today? Is what they were selling and what it is today the same thing? Like, because now it's like, yeah, like token holders, the token holders. This is like, well, maybe yeah, because they were selling it as a token in the beginning. Yeah. But it feels like if you compared language, it's like a special purpose blockchain that you can build your applications on. And it's like now today it's like, yeah, we're going to build on this other thing that's not EOS right now. And maybe we'll kind of lightly use this thing. Just imagine if they tried to sell their ICO like that. You might lightly use this blockchain sometimes, maybe, if you build on this other place on your own custom one. And then you might use the main chain sometimes. Do you think their ICO would have sold fucking or sold into $4 billion? I don't think so.
No.
You know?
No. And I think what totally proves the point is, you know, what they sold initially, we all got on board on, right?
Yeah, I bought into it. Fuck yeah, dude.
Me too, right? And SHipple was on there, and to me that like if some freaking half-brain guitar player could figure out, you know, how to launch a token and just be, hey, suddenly I got my own cryptocurrency. Fuck you. That's fucking crazy, right? That's really interesting to me. Like, talk about democratizing the process, right? Every influencer could have their own token. Like that whole economy, we could start experimenting in those things, and we all did, right? Mortys shows up, SHipple shows up, but real dApps like Emanate and all these other things show up, and then suddenly those things are fundamentally unusable. Like over the space of a week.
And why? What's the purpose? Why can't Mortys community send each other some cryptocurrency for doing some bullshit? Why can they not do that without having to spend $50? It's unusable, and they're fucking delusional, dude. Like, that will never work. It'll never work. You can't compete with fiat if you have normal people trying to use that shit. It just doesn't work. And see, the thing is that I used to drink the Kool-Aid so much that like I kind of like the arguments. It was like, yeah, you know what? If all the users are fucking gone and they just think it's total trash and no dApps want to fuck with it, like at least the token holders are still rich. Like I kind of was like, well, in what century is this thing going to actually work? It's becoming ETH 2.0 type of thing where it's like, yeah, tomorrow, soon TM, and it's like and then tomorrow never comes.
Yeah.
And it's like that's why I'm really into shipping something that works today and not trying to sell tomorrow all the time, because a lot of times tomorrow never comes. And that's what I liked about EOS. It's like, today is here, bro. It's here. TPS are high. It's cheap, blah, blah, blah. But then all of a sudden that wasn't true anymore. And then it's like, well, do I lose all of my integrity and say this next thing that happened, it's burning the fucking CPU or whatever, like I was explaining earlier? Do I just change my mind and think that this next fucking disaster is the next greatest thing? Or do I just maintain my integrity and just say, yeah, that's bullshit, actually? You know what? Like, and I don't like it. and I'm in the shit for fun, and there's like nobody's paying me to say that your shit is cool, so fuck you, I don't
It's
care.
super weird that people get like, it's dogma is all it is, Kurt, right? Like people get in their tribe and they get super dogmatic about it. In the last episode of the second last episode of the Moving Forward podcast, we were basically doing it all on ethics and having an interesting conversation around that. And I put forward the conclusion that any decision that you make from a dogmatic point of view is completely and totally immoral, even if you're accidentally right, because the next time you're probably going to fuck it up. And that's EOS, right? You get a bunch of fanboys in a room, and again, you get money on the line, and now, you're sort of defending your investment, that kind of thing. But really, like, you got to figure out how to cut bait, because like it's a $4 billion boondoggle right now, and there is no evidence, none, that they're going to change it. Right? Like even voice,
it's
the
a bad
penultimate thing.
man.
It's weird. It's just sad. Now that said, EOS.io, the technology behind it, has spawned Telos, which is doing some really, really interesting things. Has spawned Lynx, which is doing interesting things. And that, to me, like, I gravitated to what I could teach people the easiest, which is why not only did we use the Lynx wallet, but everyone was like, oh, there's all this token pocket, there's all this other crazy stuff. And I was like, cool, if you want to go do that, that's great. It's not going to become part of our platform, because if I can't teach Sue Gentry and her like 3 freaking nieces and freaking aunts how to use it in 5 seconds, I'm not interested. Right? Like, we have to keep it as simple as seemingly possible so that the community can teach each other and that kind of thing, and make it really, really simple. And then suddenly it's like, why are the transactions not working? Like, the second your transactions don't work for a new person, your shit's garbage.
Yeah, and like, so what you're saying about dogmatism and about, is that I have this kind of belief that you have to understand, like, in order to truly understand something, that you have to be able to feel all the different angles. Like, not only understand that the angles exist, but you have to like empathize with those angles. And so I know that the solution there, the one that can just remove all of the problems, and this is something I've thought about a lot recently, is that the wallet should be giving the user CPU to do those transactions. And so, Wombat actually is doing that now. And the application, like, see, really the dApp is the one that's kind of creating the disservice to the users in a way. But see, they didn't know that the CPU is going to spike, and then they were kind of forced into handling it for them. And nobody's going to be smart enough to plan ahead and buy all that CPU, and they don't want to have any costs that aren't necessary. And so they're not going to be trying to predict the future. If tomorrow CPU Mageddon happens, I have my stockpile of fucking CPU. Like, nobody's going to think that, right? But I think that now it's becoming clear that if you do build a dApp, you kind of have to handle that for your users now. Whereas before, it might have been an okay excuse to be like, yeah, fuck these guys or IDOS, right? Like, IDOS totally jacked the network up or whatever, right?
Yep.
But that's a big burden for a dApp too. Like, imagine how much CPU you would need if you have a really active wallet. It's probably not a trivial cost,
Yeah.
I know we've ranted a lot, but I think that just to kind of like close up on it, I feel like we should move forward with migrating these communities. I kind of felt like waiting was good, and I feel like maybe you didn't want to wait, but I want to merge those communities.
I still do too. I really do. Like the second we started thinking about it, I mean, I wrote like 9 pages of notes after our conversation. That's usually a good sign that I'm really interested in an idea. And again, waiting has just allowed it to percolate, and my opinion about it has only become stronger that we should do it. Yeah. Do you have a little bit more time? Because I kind of want to run my deflationary scheme by it. Because
for sure.
One thing I was wondering about, when SHipple, if it was ever to get to the point where we were going to get it on exchange, there might be some liquidity or whatever, right? There wasn't really anything on the buy side, right? It would just be like, going out into the world, and then, people would trade it amongst themselves or whatever, and people would sell it, right? And obviously we were thinking about how do we, incentivize people to actually be spending it effectively, right? So that they would want to acquire more. And So watching what happened with Sovereign Coin, right? They've got like a 50x deflationary scheme, and that's fun. And of
How
course,
is that one going, by the way?
so
I didn't follow along that
these
one.
things tend to spike, right? Like it had a really, really good spike early on because everybody wanted to kind of get on board with it. And there was tons of volume, tons of attention. And of course it's tapered off. And I think that's probably, I wondered if that was going to go in cycles, and they've got it scaled so that, it's got a variable deflationary rate, which got me thinking about crazy shit that we could do. Because again, SHipple was an experiment based around, we're just going to create a community around a story, right? And we're going to write that story in real time, and that's the glue that made SHipple as weird and awesome as I think it is. Like that, people really are to this day dialed into it, right? I talked to a couple of people, sort of inner circle about, hey, if we evolved this thing and changed the name, would you guys be okay with it? Here's all the benefits or whatever. And like there were some heart flutters, like there was some real, and they didn't know what Ripple was, and they, whatever, right? So it just became that community identity, and we could shift that, and that's fun. But it was a real narrative there. But I started thinking about what would happen if we made it so that, because I started like way too much, right? Because I'm copying Ripple as a joke. So I made 100 billion tokens. That's too many. Like it's a lot. So what happens if we start with 100 billion again, but with the full intention of having it deflate by 1,000? And what I mean by that is going from 100 billion down to 1 billion. Every 10 billion, it's basically going to drop from 10% down to 1% deflationary rate. So the first cycle, and again, if nobody uses it, it never deflates, right? Although I want to do, I've got a burn cycle as well that is attached to Memores. I'll get into that in a minute. So long story short, right off the bat, 100 billion. We've got a budget of stuff that we're trying to get out to people for, whether it's meme wars or tribes if we do that, or the different missions, the rules to Monopoly that I absolutely agree we should lay out so that people really get behind that kind of thing. And anytime it gets transacted, there's a 10% hit on it, and we just burn it, right? Until it gets down to 90 billion. Then it goes to 9%, and then 8%, 7%, 6%, down to 1%, right? And the second it hits 1 billion, we just do it again, down to 100 million. And once it hits 100 million, it's static. I'm
looking at the SHipple contract right now. Is that the SHipple 11111?
Well, the actual contract itself doesn't have any of this, because I would have no idea how to.
Oh no, I get that. I'm just I want to look up the token holders for SHipple itself.
Oh,
I don't mean to distract you. Just keep.
No.
Going.
You're okay. So yeah, I think basically the only other thing with that is the having a weekly budget to get all of it out, right? Because I want to maintain a little bit of it for dev, for different things or whatever, but the vast majority I want it to get out into the world in a very organized way, so people know that it's coming. So for example, like first month, you might have a 2 or 3 billion that you have to get out. It's basically what I was doing with SHipple, in the first one, just regularly getting a section of or a budget of stuff out into the community, and whatever doesn't get used automatically gets burned, right? And what I was really think would be a fun idea, and when I suggested this to people, they freaking lost their minds. So with Sovereign Coin, there's a weekly burn button, right? And so one person, whoever gets to it at exactly the right time, can click this button, and like XYZ amount of Sovereign Coin gets burned. But at the end of every single week, there's a meme wars. And I want to create a ceremony where we do a multi-sig transaction where the last week's winner and the next week's winner burn ridiculous amounts of coin in front of everybody. Like we do it live. They get the opportunity to do this, and it becomes this like weird thing. Like I'm picture in my head like this, ceremony of people in torches or whatever, like literally just burning currency to magically create value. And of course, there's a weird story around that. People get around it.
The news is out, by the way.
Is it really? Oh.
Yeah, I'm gonna send it. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to distract you, so maybe
no. And we can talk about this anyway. And honestly, like, the next
Yeah,
conversation we
yeah.
have is
It's
going to be
basically that. It's basically okay. So it's public now. So Lynx, Chain, and Metal have merged
Metal
into
pay
Proton.
into what?
It's going to be called Proton.
I like it.
And so there's obviously a lot of benefits, and I'm going to send this directly to you because like I don't want to ruin it by explaining it, and I know things that I don't even know are public or not. So I'm gonna share that with you.
Okay.
And yeah, I'm really fucking excited about this shit, dude, because I think it's gonna be a big deal.
Right. So the account, I actually launched it on my test account by accident because I'm an idiot. And so
What did you launch?
So I launched SHipple on there it is. Shill.
Did you send it to me?
I'll fire you the link here in a second. If I can figure out where Telegram is. There it is. Oh, hello. So yeah, there's about 1,800 people, I think.
Nice, nice.
Yeah, I actually interviewed the Metal Pay guy. I like that guy.
Yeah, Marshall.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's legit.
I see. This is why, like, people are sleeping on Fred, man. Let's start with the consumer experience because ultimately that is all that matters. I don't have to read anything else. That's call me biased, but that's it.
Yeah, no, I mean he's a crusher, dude. That's the reason why we've kind of taken this risk that we have on it. And you know, it's EOSIO, so it's not like we're taking like the most massive risk ever, but
right.
But yeah. So my thoughts on your idea, because I know that like one, I think all of these events are great. I don't get like I like deflationary, but I think that I mean Bitcoin is deflationary, right? And I like the idea of a deflationary currency, but I feel like a lot of this burning stuff, I don't really dig it that much. I mean, like I'm just being a straight shooter. Like
Yeah.
the reason why is because I feel like the layman, I mean, even myself, I'm pretty technical. Like I don't fully understand it like quickly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I get it. Like okay, you burn something and it's like now there's less. But like there's a whole lot of complexity. Like there's circulating supply, there's total supply. It's like, okay, well, you burn something that was already like you know, you have a whole warehouse full of fucking rollerblades or something, right? And it's like, well, if there's 500 people who have rollerblades and then there's a factory full of rollerblades and you don't even know how many there are in there, if somebody burns half of it, like what does that matter to you? You know, like it's
it really is. It's a psychological thing based more around currency scarcity, right? Or even like
I get that, and you know what? Like I'm very surprised in you, Corey, because I think that you're the one of the guys that I would expect to be the guy that will stand up and say, you guys are fucking manipulating these currencies, all this funny business with the feds printing and all this stuff, right? Like, and I, you know, I buy into that a little bit, but if we're going to design our own currency and say, like, I feel like we're making a gesture that says this is the way that currencies in a way should be done. And I get it. You're not trying to make a fucking currency that is like, you know, the United States dollar, but it's this burning stuff is so complex, and the deflations and you know when they're used, it's like it gives this person a feeling of like it's fucking chaos or something. You know what I mean?
and we should let this percolate because the second that I saw burning initially, I thought exactly the same thing that you do now. And it was only
and I don't want to give the idea that I'm a dumbass and I don't get it.
Here's the thing. No, because like watching people burn stuff wasn't making any sense to me at all, right? But we don't have any miners, right? There's no way for me to have a halving event, right? And when you track halving events for Bitcoin price, like we all know the story, right? Like it's a huge thing. So
I don't think it's needed though. That's what I'm really arguing.
And you might be right. You might be right.
Here's what I really think. Okay, if you don't have liquidity, like different currencies, they have like before we used to break them into currencies and utility tokens, right?
Right.
And then there's like securities, blah blah blah, right? But if we're not building a currency, then it's kind of like a utility, right? And so how do we utilize that thing, to me, is number one. Like it's number one to me how I can use my monopoly money. It's a secondary thing to me, maybe how it's created and burned and all these other things.
Yeah.
And so to me, scarcity is not the utility of a money or a token.
Yeah.
The use, the utility of it should be number one. And that has to be really fucking clear to me before I even like, so I'm just like, great, there's another scarce token. They're going to burn it. But see, I think that what you have is you don't need this shit. Like maybe Sovereign does, but like you have people that want to use the shit. Right. They're excited. They're doing certain things. You don't fucking need it. That's the way I look at it. You're better than that.
That's like, entirely possible.
That's what I'm saying.
That's entirely possible.
Yeah.
And part of me feels like this is why us teaming up would be so brilliant, because the utility side of things, I don't have any ways to kind of make that real. So I
Dude, you already did though. That's the thing.
No, I couldn't prioritize
you already Did. You're already a boss.
You know, there was
already achieved it.
You know how many? I mean, there was no reason though for people to want to purchase Shill. None.
I know, but see, that to me ties into utility. It does. Like, do I buy Chuck E. Cheese tokens because someone's gonna fucking burn them in the back alley?
Right.
I'm not. Like, I'm buying those Chuck E. Cheese tokens because I'm gonna dump them in the machine and I'm gonna get plays out of it. You know?
So here's when I sent this to my community, the part of the story that they got, and again, there was some crypto people that love investing in it, and really got this part of the story, and there were some noobs and there were some people in between, and the story that I told that I think is worth injecting into this experiment, right? I get that there's some complexity around it. Long story short, at the beginning of this thing's life cycle, there's going to be lots of it, and over more time there's going to be less of it. Everyone knows that story because that's Bitcoin, right? But this is that times 1,000.
Well, Bitcoin technically,
it's
deflationary, but there's not going to be less of it.
It's actually that. So it's that same feel, but I get it. Like it's going to be static.
Yeah.
So like I'm interested in this the sort of narrative, almost religion side of it, right? Like that weird tribal thing that really sparks something in people and gives people something to get excited about and believe in. So let's say we're doing meme wars and you're getting, a million, evolved token, whatever, for winning meme wars or whatever. You have a plausible argument that, and it could take 1,000 years. We don't know. We have no idea, right? It could take 10 years. It could take 1,000. It's all set up into the code and we can never do anything about it. But it has the capacity to be 1,000 times more valuable than it is right now.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. Like, there is something to every point that you're making, like burning. Like, some people are receptive to that, yeah. and also the exciting thing I think about cryptocurrencies in general is that people will subscribe to it. It's sort of like the lottery. People will subscribe to a low probability event happening and believe that it could be real and that probably they don't understand odds, and they're willing to think, if there's a possibility that it could moon or something, like that's really exciting. Get in early, get something scarce, get it before other people, get fucking rich, it's gonna moon. Like there's this whole narrative that goes on with people's minds. It's kind of greedy, actually.
It is a little bit, and I feel less good about it suddenly. But that is something that is part of where this community goes. But I also think, like, honestly, every stock that's ever been sold from the IPO, right? The whole idea is, as the community or value proposition grows, right? And Bitcoin, there's only ever going to be 21 million. The only reason why it's kind of deflationary per se is because less of it's coming out more all the time, and there's always more wallets, right? Like,
I think there's other ways to achieve that, though.
I think you're probably right.
Like for example, you could control the supply, like the circulating supply, like the ways that you dole it out. It's like like I always am reminded of. Have you seen the modern Mad Max movie?
Yes.
With what's her name?
Fury Road or whatever.
Yeah. So like, there's these guys that are like hoarding all the water, basically.
Yeah.
And so then they release it out to the people. It's like, you don't have to make water deflationary in order to drive the scarcity of something. Like, there's many ways to achieve that. It could be you just control the supply.
Yeah.
And there's many ways to do that. You could control the supply algorithmically or something, right?
That I'm definitely open to suggestions around that. I think that the thing that kind of hooked my attention around the way that I was thinking about doing it is that it would be hard coded, right? Like, I'm going to have budgeted for the release of the entire 100 billion or whatever, right? Timed. So, and that's actually deflationary as well, right? So, whatever. And I've got the whole schedule somewhere that I put out, but basically, like, a lot is coming out over time, and that is becoming scarce based on us being the spigot. But the contract itself would also have that embedded in a way that I was not in control of, right? So, like, you think about 100 billion tokens being out there, and we, like, ritually, like, this is the thing, like, and it's gonna sound, and, like, come back and, like, bust my balls for this, but the people that are in the inner circle that I actually talked to about this, they really glommed onto this. I don't mind. I can sell that shit, right? As far as, like, the thing that people can come around as a community, the act of pressing a button and creating more scarcity in the system. I'm not doing it, but the winner of this, ridiculous competition that we do every week, literally everyone across the spectrum, all the people I talked to, were very, very interested in that, because that act binds the whole community together, and it starts to do all these weird things in people's heads.
Well, I mean, when you explain it, it sounds cool. I mean, like, I wouldn't be opposed to it at all. I mean, it does sound cool, and it does sound like it empowers the user to do something that's meaningful to them. It could everyone. Be burning, or maybe you can get that same effect without burning. I don't really know, but also, like, sometimes you have to be careful when you ask me shit, because I can tend to, one, be very opinionated, and two, be really fucking convincing too. No, like, hey, I will make you bummed on burning, like,
dude. No, really this is why I think a Kurt Corey partnership would work, because I am desperate to be proving wrong at every turn. Like, I'm excited about it, right? So at the same time, we can toss around ideas, and if I wasn't strongly interested in this, I would just bow to your greater experience. But I got a weird feeling about it.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, here's the thing that I think that you really have going for yourself too, is that one, I feel like you underestimate what you've already been able to achieve. And, like, at this point, you don't really need I know you're not, like, asking for my advice, but, like, what your intuition is good enough to where you could just do whatever the fuck you want, and it'll probably work. Like, that's how much trust I have in the way that you run your communities and the way that you run what you're doing. Like, you've got something that works. And so, I might even be too technical in sometimes. Like, I'm just wondering, like I really believe that burning is a result of high total supplies. I think that's why burning became a thing, because it's like, hey, we got all this fucking wood around. What are we gonna do with it? Well, let's fucking burn it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, no, and honestly, like, that's a good part of the story, because, like, and originally, like, the reason why I was thinking about burning is because 100 billion is too high and 100 million is better, right? But what if you transitioned, and what if you transitioned aggressively in a planned way that was entirely coded in the thing, right? And while we're doing the distribution, the people that are part of that community. I had people telling me, because we did this experiment with staking, I had people telling me, and they staked a lot of SHipple, that they would throw all of that onto the burning pile just because they want to be part of something crazy.
Yeah, I mean, that's what's cool about this stuff. It's experimental and you can try all kinds of shit. But like, so maybe it's just an ongoing discussion where we can think about how we could merge and what kind of coherent things that we really learned, what would be like, how would it work? And just keep the discussion going. Like I'm always like, what you're trying to do sounds a little bit complicated to me. Like what I like about what we did at first was I could deploy a smart contract and a new token in like minutes.
Yeah.
Like we could have that shit running by the end of tonight.
Yeah.
But if we have to write this complex, we're burning and we're doing all these things and we have these algorithms that we really need to fully understand. They're not set in stone, by the way. Like you can update this shit. I know that you spoke to that a little bit earlier, but like I'm thinking that like what we did, like the value in controlling the supply, people will buy it because it has value in its utility. Those are some principles that I really like.
Yeah.
And they don't conflict with your principles.
That's what
You're
I'm
just
saying,
adding a bunch of bonuses.
Right. That I think the best part about it, if we did decide to do my crazy lunatic idea, is that at core, people are gonna have the utility to actually be spending it and transacting it, and that's always gonna be in the back of my mind, no matter what we do, deflationary or burning or whatever. And we actually might just be able to do like a burning thing, right? Like just to hyper simplify it, whatever we don't put out that week for our budget to get out to humans, that could just be the weekly burn thing. But I was talking to the guys at Telos. They said they could they took a look at my numbers and said that they were actually trying to figure out how to create a system that would allow me to make all that happen.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying.
We might be able to draft.
Met with like friction in a way, like one, it'll be kind of costly. I'm not saying don't do it. I just think
no. I'm just saying we could draft on them. I'm sold on going on Lynx. I'm just saying like that it's supposed to be possible. But I think that combination of making sure we have a utility and figuring out some weird thing that I can kind of drag.
Now it'll be Proton, by the way, because that just came out.
Yeah, and I haven't had a chance to read that yet.
Look at Chirp right there in this new Proton wallet. It is a metal wallet. That's insane, dude.
So what's going on? What's going on with all my Lynx token?
I think that they're just it's the same token. They're just going to change the name.
Oh, cool. All right.
So yeah, but hopefully there's going to be a lot of liquidity, Sonny boy.
Right.
So then we're gonna. I mean, this is going to be pretty big news, and I think that it's. Like that's one of the reasons why I wanted to wait, because I wanted you to see both all of the opportunity landscape for what it is. And so I feel like people are going to see this news and they're going to be like, damn, these guys are like kind of getting their shit together.
Yeah. Just for two main things. Because the second I started using the wallet, that was always going to be, where I was heading. I mean, we're using the wallet anyway. But as far as evolving, the SHipple and Mortys communities, all that stuff, like I'm 100% on board, even if we have to wait for a little while, just because I see the value in us collaborating on that. And honestly, like I'm on Lynxchain like all the time. I don't know Telos from anything, and I love those guys, and they have really really good ideas. I
have a partnership with Telos. D-Mail is built on Telos, and I think that D-Mail on Telos is fucking amazing, dude. The fact that we're able to do what we're able to do there. It's amazing. I love those guys. I like all of them. That's the reason why I have an EOS.io enthusiast group, so that all of my homies from different chains, it's almost like if you're a Christian and there's other Christians that like just don't eat fucking pork every Tuesday, why should they not be your friend? Like you both like Jesus. Like I don't know, dude. It's just weird. It's so tribal. It's like, oh, his shade of purple isn't fucking right, and it's like he's vegan, but like he wears those shoes that aren't like, they're only 99.7% vegan, and it's like, get the fuck out of here, dude.
Like those shoes looked at Animal the wrong way once.
You did, and now I hate you. Like that's the way that it is. And I'm kind of trying to help people, but I'm also like part of the problem, admittedly, too, because like I'm starting shit with people about it. But like my message is just like, look, like let's be able to call shit shit and gold gold. Like let's just be able to do that, you know. Let's not.
It's not like you're
Like
asking
my
much.
shit is actually gold, you know.
Yeah, like that. I've been really astounded by watching people get really butthurt about the whole EOS thing, because that you know, if it's unusable, it's unusable. They can't, you know, that's not rocket science. That's just a thing. And if we can't call black black or frickin' working, then there's no point to any of it. So like, yeah, if you're going out there proselytizing that we should just be able to be reasonable and actually be evidence and data based, I'm gonna back you up.
Yeah, I mean, well, I'm kind of like just doing it in my abrasive way, I guess. So it's not,
Dude,
not
you're not even abrasive. Have you met me? Oh my god.
well, no, I mean, like, what's funny is that I am here in this context, but you know, normally, like when I was doing other things that I've done in my life, like it was hard to be controversial, like you know. But here, it's like ask a question. Like, dude, I have tweets that I'll show you. You probably saw them, but where I was like, I literally asked a question. It wasn't trying to be like I wasn't trolling nothing, right? And other EOS maxis came in and they're like, you literally expect your question to get answered? They're like, really? Like you're asking a question? It's like, how dare you ask the question?
Oh
It's like,
no.
dude, these like it's like, you know what it reminds me of? It's like it's like these like lords from like a medieval period. Like, how dare you look the king in the eye? How dare you ask a question of his majesty? You know, it's like it's
Yeah.
this weird, it's fucking weird, dude. Like, and I almost like play with it a little. I'm almost trolling now because I want to draw them out to like show me how fucking weird things have gotten, you know?
Right. Right. Yeah.
Anyways.
No. Yeehaw, Proton.
Yeah, yeah. I'm excited. I'm excited about this shit, and I think it's gonna be really good. And I see that they have Chirp front and center, and I'm fucking glad because like I feel like we've put a lot of work into this shit. Um, and yeah, Stella's asking me questions. I actually need to like make sure I'm honoring all these people, like making sure they're not freaking out. So I'm probably gonna jump off, but
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
let's do this again, man. Like I know we don't need to do it every day, but like I think that if we're gonna have our chats and we like to ramble about stuff, we should just like live stream it. Fuck it, just let
Yeah,
people
dude.
jump in
Let's
and chat too.
like this weekend. Let's live stream some VR because I've never done that before, and that
I'm
sounds
down.
fancy
I
as
will
fuck.
like. I'm totally down. Like we can do it. Like just I guess we just do it on Facebook, right?
I guess. Yeah, I've never done it before. So I mean, you're doing it. If
Are
we
we
can
friends
get
on
on chat.
Facebook? I don't even know if we're friends on Facebook.
Yeah, we are.
Okay, good. I've been like using Facebook very lightly lately, but yeah, that's great because I think that I can just add you right there.
That's awesome. All right,
But
cool.
let's try it, dude. And thanks for the chat today, man. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Thanks for all
absolutely.
the energy and shit.
I'm looking forward to doing it again.
Yeah, right on,
All right,
brother.
game
Talk
on.
to you later.
Thanks, Kurt.
Bye bye.